Hi, my name is Chris Pennington, and I'm with the Kansas Small Business Development Center. The Kansas Small Business Development Center is a grant-funded national organization providing professional business consulting and training in Kansas, with a majority of services at no cost. Our funding partners include the SBA, the Kansas Department of Commerce, and regional host institutions. Welcome to TechCom 101. In this presentation, we'll learn what innovation is, how to protect your idea, how to get started, the should you, could you, and how to do, and ways you can fund your dream. So you have an idea. What makes your idea unique? Is it an innovation? Innovations solve problems and improve products or processes. Does the innovation improve an existing product, or is it a completely new technology or product? Make sure your idea is unique. You can do this by going and doing a basic Google search. There's other search tools out there as well for the internet, but I like Google personally. This is a good way to see if there's something similar out there. Just because we have an idea doesn't mean that it's unique to us. So you want to also conduct a patent search. Not all of the ideas or products or services are out there on a Google search. Sometimes they're products and services that have not actually been developed yet. So conducting a patent search will kind of unearth some potential pitfalls that you might find out later on about. A good way of doing this, again, is Google, patents.google.com/advanced. This is a good free tool to kind of go out there and to see if there's a provisional patent or somebody that's actually been issued a patent. Sometimes you'll find out that there's somebody who has actually gone out and looked to try to do a patent, but they didn't have one received. So there's might be a reason for that. There are 4 basic types of innovation. We'll start off with radical. Radical is a technological breakthrough that transforms industries and often creates new markets. A good example of a radical innovation would be the very first cell phone. The technology was too far advanced. There wasn't a lot of adoption early on. It only was adopted as technology's price was reduced, and it was able to overcome the landline. Disruptive. Technology or new business model that disrupts the existing market. Disruptive technology example or innovation example would be the very first smartphone. This was the very first time that a cell phone was actually able to connect to the internet, and it changed the marketplace, but the adoption wasn't as high initially. Sustaining. A significant improvement on a product that aims to sustain the position of an existing market. There's going to be a lot of people who might argue that this is not a sustaining, but was a disruptive. However, I put this in this category. The iPhone was a sustaining improvement. It wasn't the very first smartphone, and it wasn't the first to have the capability of connecting to the internet or have apps involved in it. It just did a much better job of doing it. It was much more like having a computer as a cell phone. So the next step would be incremental. This is a gradual or continuous improvement on existing products and services. Incremental example would be of the iPhone 12 to 13. It's not a huge jump, but it's enough that it gets enough people interested in wanting to buy the product so that they can continue on improving the iPhone. Where does your product or service fall in this map? How do I get started? You have an idea that is unique, but you need advice. Before you go any place and start speaking about your idea, make sure it is protected. Have in place an NDA or a non-disclosure agreement. An NDA will protect you from somebody going out and talking about the product or service or trying to, steal your idea. So it's a good thing to have around. When I got started with my innovation, that was one of the first things that we got started with was an NDA. You also want to get started in the right place. A good example of this is the SBDC. That's one of the first places I turned to when I was going through and it was on your side of the aisle. An SBDC advisor signs a confidentiality agreement as part of their terms of employment. So you know that they are going to keep your product or your innovation confidential, and that you have somebody that is a trusted advisor that you can always turn to. According to Forbes, the key elements of NDAs are identification of the parties, definition of what is deemed to be confidential, the scope of the confidentiality obligation by the receiving party, the exclusions from the confidential treatment, and the terms of the agreement. Every business or innovation goes through a similar set of steps. Your first step is going to be the investigation, should I, the feasibility, could I, and the development, how to do. By going through these steps, you're mitigating against your risk of getting too far along too quickly and investing a lot of money in something that isn't going to pan out. Step one, investigation, should I? You're going to do again, you're generating a rough draft, so it's just a handwritten mock-up of your idea, your technical concept, to see if it would work just on paper. This is a low cost, next to no cost, a way of getting a good idea if your product will work. Again, market needs assessment, gaining confidence in your ability to market to the product effectively. So you're just looking at the market, seeing what that market looks like. Who is your customer? Who is going to use it? How big roughly is that market? How is that product or service being performed right now? What value do you bring to it? And that goes along with your venture assessment, verbalizing a brief description of the business model of your technology. Feasibility, could I? Developing a working model of your product or service. There's different ways that you can go about doing this in a way that's not as costly for developing a working prototype. And we'll kind of discuss those later on. Creating a financial model of your technology and conducting a market study. These are areas that you can go and work with your Kansas SBDC tech coach on. they can provide you with a market study as well as helping you kind of start off with a financial model. Step 3, development, how to do. In this model, or in this phase, you'll be developing a strategic business plan and your pitch. You'll go through and you'll have an engineering prototype made up. You'll think about whether or not you can have intellectual property protection or not. You can do this by going and speaking to a lawyer, and specifically a patent attorney. And then you'll think about funding. Where am I going to get money to get this started up? Again, these are all areas that the Kansas SBDC can help you with. Your first step, again, is you're going to write your business plan. You can reach out to your Kansas SBDC advisor and they can send over our streamlined business plan template along with the walkthrough video so that you can have an idea of how to write your business plan. In the previous slide, you had a section for a marketing or a market study. You will actually plug that directly into this as well. The business pitch. You want to know your audience. How much time do you have? And your standard pitch follows the 10, 20, 30 rule. You keep your deck at 10 pages. Your presentation should be under 20 minutes. Use 30-point font on average. You also want to do an elevator pitch. This is a short, very, very short, brief description of what your product or service is going to do. This is something that you would target a CEO that you just happen to get on the same elevator with, and you have 30 seconds or less to give them the gist of the idea. You want to tell a story, know your numbers, and practice, practice, practice. Going back up to the top, knowing your audience is very important to structure all of these, because you'll have different people that you'll be speaking to about your idea. Some ventures might speak to a group of angel investors out there in a specific industry. Another person might speak to a group of Air Force colonels who are going to help them with funding. So knowing who your audience is and how your business is going to apply to them will shape how your pitch deck will look. Prototyping. The cost for prototyping can range from $100 to $30,000. Some can be as high as $100,000 and above. So don't go broke. Do a basic working prototype when you're putting together your prototype. More advanced prototypes for high fidelity connected devices cost the most. Sometimes you have to invest a lot. There's a lot of different ways in your funding stream to get those very high-end prototypes put together, but that's further down the road. Where you get your prototype made can kind of depend on how much you cost. There's prototyping services such as rapid prototyping services and engineering companies. Another good one is a makerspace to have your prototype put together. Those act as a do-it-yourself type of a setup in making your prototype. Another good one is universities, reaching out to instructors at a university and or talking to somebody that is a student at a university that wants to work on a prototype for you or put that together for you. Engineering students, somebody who's doing CAD, those type of folks can really help you along the way. Protecting your intellectual property, IP. Patents, they can cost as much as $60,000. They're very difficult to obtain for software. I know this firsthand. They actually are next to impossible. There's Supreme Court cases that have kind of nixed software for getting patents, but there are some addressing patents and things like that that you can speak to a patent attorney about and see if they can apply to your software. Provisional patents, these are easy to file and can provide some protection until the patent is approved. The cost of these are much less. They can cost as little as $75 if done by an individual, or as much as $3,500 with the help of a lawyer. These are pretty much standard costs across the country. The 75 is something that they have put in place at the patent office. You can do something as simple as a mock-up to send over. Once you start speaking out publicly about your innovation, you have a window of time where you can actually file for your patent, and that time is 1 year after that time starts. So let's say that 2 people are going and applying for, this has happened throughout history, where 2 people come up with the same idea and one person has filed a patent first, but they started speaking about it long before that, and so their time window ran out, and then the other person who actually came up with the idea after didn't speak out publicly, and so their time window didn't go open as soon, so they can actually apply for a patent and might be able to get ahead of that other person. So you want to keep track of all those records so that you can prove out that you are able to get the patent protection in case somebody comes in and tries to challenge your patent. Copyright. Copyright can protect your design. Copyright can also writing and things like that. The copyright protects a lot of different areas. It can also protect your code. So if somebody was to develop an app, that is actually IP because it is copyright protected. However, an app is easy to get around because there's many ways to write code and get the same result. Copyright registration is $85, and there's still some protection if the copyright is not registered. The Kansas SBDC does not offer legal advice. We suggest speaking with an attorney to discuss how best to protect your intellectual property. Funding. This is the big one. Personal savings or potential sources include your personal savings, friends and family, grants. Grants are the most difficult to obtain. However, there are SBIR and STTR programs out there that can actually help you get funding. Loans. Loans are not available for developing intellectual property. They are available for businesses with tangible assets, however. So if you're going to be starting up a business that is, you're wanting to start up a restaurant or something like that, it's a lot easier to get a loan for that type of business than it is for somebody who's wanting to start up a website, for example. Crowdfunding. This is relatively new. You lose a lot of your protections when you go into crowdfunding because people can steal your ideas very easily. What you're looking for is, all kinds of people coming in and essentially getting first dibs on the products that you're putting out there, or they might be able to have like a little portion of the business as well. It kind of depends on how the crowdfunding sourcing was done. Venture capital and angel investors. This segment is one of the more recognized groups for if you're wanting to start an app, for example, or a website, or develop a software. These folks are a lot of your startup capital that is out there that is most recognized. And that's part of why you would want to go through and work on your pitch, because these type of folks. The Kansas Innovation and Technology Enterprise, the KITE program, is another program that's out there that that can help you with getting funding. I think it's like a $20,000 grant, essentially, that will help you with getting your funding for a prototype, for example. So these type of programs that are out there are very, very good and can get you started. And we'll kind of touch back on the SBIR and STTR programs here in a bit. Encountering Innovation. This is the Midwest Premier Program for Innovators, and it's right here in Kansas. In this program, you'll have access to a tech coach such as myself, and we'll help aid you in the development of your business and idea. We'll also help you in the development of your presentation materials, like your business plan, like your financial projections, like your market studies, like your presentation deck. You'll learn about the tech transfer process, learn about government contracts, working with the government. There's a lot that goes into that, and there's a lot of upside with it as well. You'll be able to connect with those who can help make your product, and we'll also prepare you for Collider events and EI conferences. There's a lot of preparation in the beginning, and there's a lot more that goes on after, but the payoff is huge if you're able to get a contract with the government, for example, with an SBIR or an STTR. EI conference and Collider events. These are attended by government tech scouts, venture capital, and prime contractors and technology companies. During it, you'll have a poster board and pitch sessions. You may just be selected to do a poster board session, or you may be selected to do both, the poster board and the pitch session. In my example, when I went and did this myself, I was selected for the poster board initially, and then while I was at the session, they selected me to do a pitch session as well. So I was actually picked up, and there's opportunities for that while you're at these sessions. They may not get the initial idea or business that you're wanting to put together, but once you're there and you're speaking to somebody, they can latch onto it and say, this is something that we really want to look at. The ability that you'll have, or what you'll be able to have at this, is learn about connecting to government agents, tech scouts out there, and how to network within, for example, the military. And those folks can actually help make your idea a reality. One of the standard sayings before was that anything that was that the war fighter could use, that's what they would be looking for. But that goes a long ways, and there's a lot of applications that I have learned over the years of working with these programs that you can apply a technology to the warfighter. The EI conference is held once a year, and a collider events are held throughout. The EI conference, again, is the premier conference, and collider events are smaller opportunities that are out there for people to get picked up. So why are SBIR, STTR grants for innovators so important? Why are we making such a big to-do about this? Well, phase one, you can get up to $250,000, and this right here will help you provide a minimal viable product. So your prototypes and things like that you're able to illustrate to the military or whoever the SBIR is through, that is paid through this phase. Phase two is up to $1.8 million. This is a 12 to 24 month program, and it illustrates the product viability and or public sector needs. So this is just, again, I mean, if you were to go out and try to do a startup with an angel investor, for example, a lot of times tech startups operate off of $1 million to start off. This is a built-in customer, and they're funding your business startup essentially in phase two to roll out. What they're wanting out of you is they're wanting a lot of information on whether or not this is going to be something viable to move forward. Phase three, there's no limit. The time and contract requirements are agency defined. So there again, that is your rollout phase, and it's like once you have your customer base established of who you're going to target within the Air Force or within whatever Department of Defense army or branch you're dealing with, that helps you move that out to those different groups across. Basically, that's your government contract. Key takeaways. So today we learned about what an innovation is. Is your idea truly an innovation? Investigate it, please. Go and do your homework on whether or not this product is new or something that can be used out there. When you're going out there and talking about your idea, protect it. Have an NDA ready. And once you move past those steps into actually developing your product, look at copyrights and patent protections. Your map forward. So these are your business plans, your business pitches, and your financial projections. These are all areas that your Tech Scout can help you with. Funding your dream. You're building up to this. Again, a lot of people deal with their friends and family. They'll go to private equity, angel investors. The KITE program is a great one. Grants and SBIRs. Again, if you're a for-profit business, grants are very, very difficult to get unless they're in the form of an SBIR or STTR, for that example. Get connected to the Kansas SBDC and a tech coach such as myself and find out if EI is right for you. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. My email address is cwpennington@pittstate.edu. I welcome any questions. I've been down this process myself, and it's a great road, and it's got a lot of ups and downs. So having somebody that kind of understands the process and has a passion for developing a product or an innovation is key. And I just really love this part of my job. Just thank you so much for taking the time today to look over my presentation for TechCom 101. There's a lot more coming up down the road. More information on SBIRs and STTRs that you can find out, as well as Encountering Innovation. Be sure to go to our website at kansassbdc.net to learn more about what we're doing in the tech community. Good luck on your innovation, and have a great day.